Roppstar gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone. Join the live stream. Do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Without further ado, we're gonna talk about the wide receiver one situation in Carolina. The reason why we're gonna talk about that is like who's gonna be the actual wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers, right? We're gonna dive into that today. Other than that, guys, again, make sure you come in, share the live as well. That always helps out. Also make sure you come in and join the live stream, man. Join the live stream. Join the chat. Love to hear y'all's thoughts as we go through tonight's live stream. Love to hear y'all's thoughts as we go through tonight's live stream. Trying to get my overlay to work again because apparently Canva just doesn't want me to have the correct overlay for some reason. I don't know why. So we're going to try to create another one real quick. But yeah, so who will be the wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers? I think it's a four-way dogfight, right? I think one name that stands above the rest, in my opinion, really, it's of course Terry McLaurin. Now, if we're looking at this roster from a roster as a whole, like, and I'm going to pull up the roster now, like, pull it up real quick. Because it's going to be interesting how this wide receiver room is going to work out anyways, right? Let's pull that up real quick here. I think it's going to be interesting how this wide receiver room works out. It's going to be one of the most interesting battles as we go into training camp, in my opinion. And when we go into training camp, I think it's going to be one of the most interesting battles for sure. We'll put that here. Turn that here. Update layout. There you go. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the most interesting battles. Just because you've got so much, you really have a lot of talent in this wide receiver room. And I'm going to zoom in on that so you guys can see a little bit better. I feel like y'all can barely see it when it's like that. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. I think Daniel takes a step back. Leggett takes a step forward. Yeah. I mean, if we think about it this way, guys, like we haven't had a legitimate wide receiver one since we shipped DJ Moore to Chicago. We haven't had a legitimate wide receiver one since we shipped DJ Moore to Chicago. In all seriousness, because when you think about it, and that was of course for the Bryce Young trade, but since then the passing game has been a cocktail of desperation. It's been a lots of duct tape. I feel like is the best analogy for it. It's held together by now you have Bryce Young, who's not a rookie quarterback, but at the time before, when they made that trade, was a rookie quarterback, and he had no weapons. You're talking about Jonathan Mingo. You're talking about Terrace Marshall Jr. You're talking about DJ Chark, right? And then now you have so much more talent, right? But he had no weapons. The only thing he had was a 33-year-old Adam Thielen when he came on this team, right? And that might finally be, I feel like in 2025, we're finally changing it. And I think we were changing that last year when we went and got Leggett too. But now that you have Tedero McMillan, there's going to be a lot that I feel like is going to change in this offense. We're going to dive more into that, but it's not, and not because, anybody, and you know, that might change in 2025, but and it's not because someone earned that crown last year, because no one really earned that wide receiver one crown last year, because Carolina threw bodies at the problem, right? And so now they drafted Tedero McMillan 8th overall. Still have Xavier Legette. You still got Jalen Coker on this team, right? You know, who are all going to be trying to get snaps. And then, of course, you still have Thielen, who has yet to retire. So that's 4 names, and that's for one ball right there. Automatically, I think that's your automatic top 4 guys, right? No particular order. I mean, if we're going to be honest, like, if we're talking about Adam Thielen real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like Adam Thielen is like that ghost of Christmas past, to be in all seriousness. I feel like he is like the ghost of Christmas past. What I mean by that is that because I want to start with what we know, right? We know Thielen is a professional. We know that he's reliable. We know he's consistent, and he doesn't drop passes, right? And in 2023, he caught over, what did he catch? Let's see. I mean, he caught over, let's go look at his 2023 stats. There it is, 2023. Over 103 catches. Over 103 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 4 touchdowns in 2023, right? So that's more than double the next guy on that team that year, right? And mostly because Bryce Young had no one else to trust. He couldn't trust Jonathan Mingo, right? In 2024, you know, let's go, like, if we go back into that, his usage scale, you know, Thielen's usage did scale back, you know, as you can see here, right? Only 48 receptions, as you can see, right? 62 targets, I think he had on the year. Let's see. Yep, 62 targets on the year. So, I mean, his usage did go down last year. Now, he did have the, you know, injury. I think he was out for an injury for like 1 or 2 games, right? If I'm not mistaken. But he still had the second most receptions on this team, right? And at 34, Thielen isn't fooling anyone with his speed anymore. He's not winning many contested balls, right? He's especially outside the numbers, but he's dependable in the short game, right? In the red zone, on third down, which what I suspect Hunter Renfrow will be doing as well. I see Renfrow making this team, but he'll get his looks. But wide receiver one in this offense, I think now that ship has sailed. I think Thielen is that safety blanket, but he's not the sword, if that makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. Right? He's the safety blanket. That's what I'm getting at here. He is not the sword. Okay. All right. Again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. I would greatly appreciate it, guys. Also, if you're feeling generous, feel free to become a member today, or send a super chat, or if you're feeling even more generous, feel free to shoot me a Venmo or Cash App. All donations, either way, go towards the channel. So I greatly appreciate that. Any way I can get it. All right. But yeah, so then let's go back. Let's go back to this lineup again. All right. All right. So who steps in now? Who steps in as the guy? Right? Who steps in between, actually not the guy. Who steps in between Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker? All right. Let's start with Xavier Legette. Let's talk about him real quick. All right. So Xavier Legette, he was supposed to be the guy in 2024. Let's be honest. I think a lot of people thought that he was supposed to be the guy in 2024. I think there was a lot riding on his shoulders to be the guy in 2024, right? Because they went back, they traded up to go get him in, the first round, right? So for me, for to get this guy, he did lead the team in receptions. He had 49 receptions out of 87 targets. Like if you go look at this. He got 84 targets. I thought it was 87. 84 targets. But let's not confuse the volume with efficiency. His drop issues became the stuff of the offseason, like Twitter debates, frustrated film sessions, and I was part of that. I mean, the tools are there. The size, the strength, the ability to beat, these guys, beat these corners, and ability to beat press coverage. That's not an issue for this guy. That's not an issue for this guy. Okay. But the inconsistencies is his biggest enemy, himself. Right. So he's got a chip on his shoulder this year for sure. I think he could be one of the breakout candidates for sure this year. And now he has to prove he can catch the damn ball, use his hands more than catching with his body. Right. And that's what I came to a conclusion with Xavier Legette. Now, as for, let's go back to Jalen Coker. There he is. All right. So statistically, Deontay Johnson thing threw a monkey wrench in the whole plan. It did. It did. It definitely did. I mean, it didn't help anything at all. Him doing whatever him does, I guess you could say. I'm not sure exactly what Deontay Johnson does, right? He just obviously is an absolute drama queen. And now he's on the Browns. He's on one of the worst teams in the NFL, which because his drama-ness, I guess you could say, got him there, which deservingly so. He deserves all that, He deserves all of that. He did it to himself. So you can only he can only blame himself at this point. So, and for whatever reason why he acts the way that he does, it's beyond me. It is what it is at the end of the day. Sorry, guys. I'm fixing something here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Fixing this. Nice. Okay. Sorry, I was fixing something in StreamYard. Again, appreciate everyone joining the live stream tonight. Whoever's in here, everyone that's in here, feel free to join the chat as we go through this. I would greatly appreciate that, honestly. Honestly, I would appreciate that. But no, Kendall, you're right, man. Deontay Johnson did throw a whole damn monkey wrench in this whole damn thing. But hey, karma's a bitch because now like I said, he's on the he's on the Browns. So he can only blame himself now. So not our problem anymore. I mean, I'm honestly happy he's gone, to be honest. I mean, I think he could have been good for Bryce. I just think that I don't know, man. I don't know. Some of these wide receivers, man, I just don't get it. I don't get it. The Stephon Diggs of the world, I just don't get it, to be honest with you. So. I cannot get my overlay to work tonight. I don't know what's going on with Canva, but they're just fucking me now. So I'm gonna have a talk with Canva because now all of a sudden they don't want nothing wants to work over there. So we're just gonna rock without an overlay tonight, but that's okay. That's okay. So fuck it. Fuck it. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Yeah, biggest fumble bag goes to exactly. Yeah, but let's talk about Jalen Coker. All right, Jalen Coker, I think, is the biggest wild card here on this team. You know, again, the reason why that is he's the undrafted free agent who, who's played his way into a real role on this team. I think he's a sharp route runner. I really do. More dependable. I think he could end up being more dependable than Jalen Coker, or I mean, more dependable than Xavier Legette. He does have better hands in that department, right? And he could quietly carve out chemistry with Young, I think, but Coker doesn't, to me, have the elite traits, right? He's the guy who I feel like is going to be that guy who can make a couple of clutch catches in a game, right? Move the chains, maybe even break free once or twice, right? But wide receiver one material, I'm not sure I want to give him that. I think he's the wide receiver 3 or 4, right? Right. I think he's the wide receiver 4 that's always wide receiver 3, really, when someone screws up, when someone else screws up. So bottom line, I think neither Legette nor Coker is a wide receiver 1 in the NFL right now. I think Legette could be, but that word could is getting old, right? But they drafted this guy to save the franchise, right? As in Tetero McMillan. Okay. Tetero McMillan is the guy that they drafted to obviously be the guy, right? The stats speak for themselves, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we're talking about 90 receptions for 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. Yeah, and then last year, 84 receptions, over 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So, when you got stats like that, this guy was a first-round pick, though, when you go watch him. Right? This guy is the headliner, right? If this guy was a WWE wrestler, he's Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns or any of those guys, right? He's the headliner, right? Like the Panthers didn't draft McMillan 8th overall because they thought he'd be a solid contributor, even though I think he's going to be a solid contributor in his rookie year, right? I think he's going to be I don't know if he'll break 1,000 yards. I could see him being under, but being around 900, right? I could see that. But there's a lot of people out there that think he's going to break 100 yards and in his first, season have like 5 touchdowns, right? I could see 5 or 7 touchdowns. I see more like 5, 7 touchdowns still, but I still see around, I'll say 900 plus, but I don't know if he's going to break 1,000 yards. If he does in his rookie year, great. Okay. But I still think 900 yards is very good for him, right? Especially for a rookie, right? But they bet the house on him. They skipped over the edge rushers. They skipped over the corners. They skipped over any trade offers because they needed someone who could be the number 1 receiver. And Bryce has never had that, right? McMillan wasn't just the need pick. He was, this is the plan, right? And it actually might work, right? I think McMillan is the most talented receiver we've had since Steve Smith prime. He's long, he's smooth, he's confident, he's downright magnetic with the ball in his hands. I mean, again, at Arizona, he showed he could earn volume and dominate with it. He's already turned heads in camp, getting reps against JC Horn. We've already seen that. giving him as good as he gets, right? And so he's not afraid of the big time moments. He won't need a learn. It's not going to be a learning curve for him as steep as most rookies. And let's not pretend this is automatic. I think rookie receivers, even first rounders, often take half a season to get up to the NFL speed, timing with the quarterback, adjusting to press coverage, right? Route nuances, stuff like that. It all takes time. All that stuff takes time. But I think McMillan has one thing on his side. He has to be the guy. Like, the Panthers will give him every chance to fail, to fail forward, because the entire passing offense is quietly built around his emergence, right? Like, for him to fail forward, and it's not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. Again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. I think I'm going to start doing some call-in shows where I open up the stream for you guys to just come in, pop in and ask questions and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about starting doing that a little bit more, where you guys can just do like a call-in show where you just pop in, ask questions, have a nice little conversation. And then if, so that it flows nice. I could be wrong, but I think we're the only team that hasn't had a true number one wide receiver in years. Fit crippled Bryce before he ever took a snap by giving away C-Mac and DJ Moore. Well, they had to get rid of C-Mac and DJ Moore, Kendall, just to even get Bryce. Was it worth it? I think it comes down to this season to say that it was worth it, right? Or it really does. It comes down to us. It comes down to this season to find out if it's really worth it, which means Bryce Young has to break out this year, right? But again, who do I think is going to be wide receiver one? That's what we're talking about here. So who's going to be the wide receiver one in 2025? Again, I think it's probably going to end up being Tetero. I think it's going to be Tetero McMillan. I think that he's got all the tools to be a wide receiver one. He is a wide receiver one prototype, right? But if we're talking targets, production, let's talk about that. It's Tetero McMillan's job to lose at this point. He has the draft capital. He has the talent, the desperate need, and he's the desperate need from this team, right? That's what he is the need for this team. They didn't pick him. They chose him, which means that force-fed targets, red zone blocks, design routes, the works, right? Even if he struggles out of the gate, volume will make him the statistical leader by year's end. I think that Thielen will get his 60 targets and 45 catches. I think Leggett will flash, right? And he probably could. I think he's actually going to flourish with having Tetero McMillan here now. I think another thing that Tetero McMillan does is open up the middle of the field because of a big body like that. But I think I could also see where Leggett will flash, but then I could see him splitting wide receiver 2 and 3 duties with Jalen Coker, really depending on the week. So I could see that side of thing, because I can see Coker might sneak into a few headlines especially if Tetero stumbles or if Bryce Young scrambles more, right? But I think if everything goes according to plan here, and that's a huge if with Carolina, I mean, McMillan is going to be the guy. He's not just the most important wide receiver in 2025. He's arguably the second most important player probably on this entire roster behind Bryce Young. And if he hits, this offense might be fun for the first time in years. If he misses, welcome to another wasted season in Charlotte. But, Tedero McMillan will lead the Panthers, I think, in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns probably by the end of 2025. Right? Yeah, and here's the catch, though. He has to, because there's no plan B, ladies and gentlemen. Right? There is no plan B. Like, we got to think about it this way too. Bryce Young's rookie year, ladies and gentlemen, 527 pass attempts, 137 targets, again, went to Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen that year, again, had 103 receptions. Barely over 10 yards per catch, by the way. Guy who's aging. You had a bunch of non-factors on that team. Not Jonathan Mingo, Marshall. You had y'all remember Chenault? Bunch of non-factors. Like, then you improved a little bit in 2024. You get Leggett. He led the team in receptions, stealing number still, So the targets were more spread out too. But again, we saw Bryce Young make progress last year, but then there was still that no number one wide receiver emerged. And for me, it's like Bryce Young playing on Madden with only the curl flat concept. That's how it's been since before we got a guy like Tedero. Everything short, nobody open, no deep threat to speak of. Like, if we're going back and we're talking about this wide receiver room, let's talk about the whole thing. But again, I just think that another thing too is there's also a coaching impact involved. Like Dave Canales, I mean, it's a spread-based offense. There's a good amount of motion in it. It's quarterback-friendly timing routes for him. So I think another thing too is it will favor wide receivers who can separate early, which I think that benefits Leggett a lot. We saw that last year. Went on intermediate breakouts. So, I think Canales will need McMillan to be his Mike Evans, and that's what he wants him to be. Not another overfed rookie bust. I think McMillan in this system is either going to be a 2020, I feel like could be a 2020 Justin Jefferson, or it's going to be like a 2022 Jalen Reagor. There is no middle ground here. Right? And if I think the most underrated wide receiver in this room is definitely Jalen Coker. Right? But I think as of right now, my prediction is Tedero McMillan is our wide receiver one. Period. Not because he's even earned it yet, but because he has to be. Like, again, we didn't invest a top 10 pick to run him on decoy routes behind Leggett and Thielen. I think he's going to be force fed like a Vegas buffet, man. And honestly, I still think he lives up to the hype, right? I think he lives up to the hype. Facts, the days of being excited over the likes of ISM, LaVisca Chenault, please be far behind us. Yes, for sure. For sure. But if we're doing stat projections, I think that McMillan's going to be a guy who gets 80, 90 receptions. We're talking probably around over 900 plus yards. I think he could accumulate, like if he really breaks out in his rookie year, he'll have 1,100 plus yards. But I'm going to say realistically, I think he has 900 plus with the chance of breaking over 1,000. And I can see where he has around 7+ touchdowns, right? For Thielen, I think he's a guy that's going to get like 50 to 55 catches, 600 yards, something like that, 4 touchdowns. I can see somewhere there. Where Leggett, I think, ends up benefiting from T-Mac, where I think he gets more like 45, 60 catches, 700 yards, and like 3 touchdowns. And then for Coker, I think it's like a guy, again, like I think he has like 35, 45 catches, 450 yards, 2 touchdowns, something like that. So, again, I think this wide receiver battle or this room is real. This is one I'm definitely going to be taking, keep an eye on, close eye on as training camp goes forward. I think, McMillan has the inside track, right? I think Leggett must improve his hands. I think Thielen really equals floor, but there's not really a ceiling. And if, the Panthers put it all, I think the thing that does worry me, though, is that we're putting all of this weight on T-Mac's shoulders, right? And so, again, we just haven't had a wide receiver one since DJ Moore. And that might change finally in 2025. Whether it's glory or growing pains, it's going to be a damn fun to watch. I think so. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing T-Mac hopefully flourish in that wide receiver one role. Do we have any Yak guys now outside of Jimmy? Because I don't know how much burn he will get. I mean, I would say probably Renfro would be more maybe a Yak guy. I mean, I would have to go look at his. I mean, he could be a Yak guy. I'm not sure if they show Yak on here. I mean, but we're talking about a guy that was averaging, 12 yards, 11. He averaged 10 in 2021, had 9 touchdowns that year. Yards after the catch. Thielen and Leggett and Coker are pretty good at yards after the catch. I wonder if we can look up Yak. Let's see if we can look up some wide receivers with some Yak. Wide receiver rankings. Let's do rankings, yards after the catch. Let's see if I can find something. Jamar Chase was big time in that. Justin Jefferson was big time in that. League neighbors. I'm trying to find. Let's see if I can find some I'm trying to find a statistical wide receiver rankings. That's yards, not yard. I'm talking about Yak. Here we go. ESPN can show it. Yards after the catch in 2024 regular season. We didn't even have. Do we have anybody in the top? I mean, these are all like. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna share my screen. This is from last year. Okay, this is from last year. This is yards after the catch right here. Jamar Chase is number 1. And I don't even know if we've got anybody in the top 50. Definitely nope. Not anybody in the top 50. Top 75. Nope. But 76, we've got Rico Daddle. 272 yards after the catch on the season. See if we got anybody else. Chuba Hubbard. Jeez. So both of our running backs are in the top 100 for Yak. But Yak's not the biggest deal in the world. I mean, look, Mike Evans is like 101 and T. Higgins is 100. Jadavion Sanders had some good yak last year. Can't forget about him in the receiving room. Jalen Coker, from a wide receiver standpoint, he's got the most yak out of any of our wide receivers last year. From a wide receiver standpoint, then it was Thielen. I'm assuming the next one would be then Tommy Trimble. But from a wide receiver, Xavier Legette was third in the wide receiver room for yak last year. See if maybe like David Moore somehow slipped in here somewhere. I doubt it now. So, yeah. So, if you're asking, do we have any guys outside Jimmy Horn? Because I don't know how much burn he'll get. You've got three guys. I mean, our top three guys. I mean, based off of last year, our top two in yak was Rico Daddle and Chuba Hubbard. Yards after the catch. I mean, he had 272, where Chuba Hubbard had 245. Kendall. But from a wide receiver standpoint, Jalen Coker had the best yards after the catch. I mean, Jadavion Sanders actually had some decent yak last year, 185, ranked 125th. Jalen Coker, though, was the top receiver in our wide receiver room with yards after catch, 171 yards. So I guess your yak, and then of course Thielen. But then I'm gonna say your yak guys are probably gonna end up being. I could end up seeing Legette being your yak guy though too. With his speed, like we can't undermine the fact that we're talking about a guy that ran a 4.39 yards after the catch. So, or I mean, not yards after the catch, but ran a 4.39 at the combine. So can't take that out of consideration. So I think he could be a guy as long as he gets his hands right. Again, he gets open. The biggest deal with him was, again, catching the football. So I think that with him, we'll see. I think if you're asking who's the other guy outside of that, it's probably between Coker or Legette. I don't think Thielen's going to be a yards after the catch guy. I think he's going to be a possessional guy, a third down guy, a safety blanket guy, a red zone guy. That's really it. He's not going to be a yards after the catch type of guy. I just don't think at his age, his body needs to be taking those kinds of hits, in my opinion, but that's just me. So wide receiver one, you heard it here first, I think will be, of course, Tetairoa McMillan. Again, could it be a four-way dogfight between Thielen and Legette, Coker, and T-Mac? Sure. But I think the guy right now, again, if we're talking about targets, production, it's Tetairoa McMillan's job to lose, right? We've seen it, right? I think that with them choosing him to be the wide receiver one is because of his draft capital, the talent, something we've desperately needed. But I think I'm hoping that they don't force-fed targets. I just have this feeling that they're going to. There's going to be a lot of red zone looks with him. I think there's going to be a lot of design routes for him that works. And I think it's going to open up again for guys like Legette and Coker to really flourish because of, again, it won't just be eyes on Thielen. It won't be just eyes on Legette. T-Mac takes some of that pressure off of those guys as well. But again, and especially in this scheme, man, like I just think in this scheme, it benefits a lot of these players the way Dave Canales run this offense, right? Again, it's a spread-based offense. There's a good amount of motion, a lot of friendly quarterback routes, especially for timing, right? I think that this scheme will, like I said earlier, will fit wide receivers who can separate early, which is why I think Legette will flourish because of T-Mac coming in. And I think that's something that Legette can do is he can win on intermediate breaks. And again, it comes down for Leggett to really, catch that football, right? But I think Canales wants to use McMillan to get him and design him to end up being like Mike Evans, right? Now they don't want to have another. You don't want to have another overfed rookie bust, right? You don't want to have to go through that. Yeah, Mitchell Evans is solid. I mean, I watched his film. I broke down his film when we drafted him. A lot, reminds me a lot of Jason Witten. I seriously think so. It reminds me a lot of Jason Witten. I see a lot of Jason Witten in him. He could be a sneaky guy. He really could. So again, Tyrone McMillan is your wide receiver 1, ladies and gentlemen. Period. It's not because he earned it yet. It's just because he has to be. And again, like I said, the Panthers didn't invest a top 10 pick to run him on decoy routes behind Leggett and Thielen. I think they are going to force fed a lot of targets his way, like a Vegas buffet. I seriously think so. And honestly, I think he lives up to the hype. So shout out to Tyrone McMillan. I think they're just going to feed the shit out of him. I really do. I think they're going to force feed T-Mac a lot. He is your wide receiver 1, point blank, period. Well, guys, that's going to do it for the Roppstar Report tonight. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you guys come through. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're going to be breaking down some more stuff this week. I'm going to be talking about the offensive line. We're going to be talking about some Bryce Young as we get ready and prepare for this training camp. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. We'll have some shorts coming out to you here tonight. Other than that, guys, y'all know what to do. I'm out of here. Happy Tuesday, and I will see you guys on the other side. And as always, keep pounding. Peace.